Hi friends, this is Marilyn from tarotclarity.com again, and today I thought I'd do another one of my demonstrations using non-scenic or pip cards. In most cases I use TDM, but sometimes I use Italian or, just modern, TDM style decks. But today I thought I would have a question that I'm asked often. I do have a private, my private practice, and I encourage unusual readings, especially if they, if one wants answers from maybe visitations they feel they might be getting, So at any rate, I thought I would give a demonstration reading of a woman who has come to me. We'll say her name is Andy. I like A names. And she's, been living in this place, and she's noticed a pattern of unusual, occurrences. And she's starting to suspect that maybe, there's someone else living with her, that she can't see. And what I could, what kind of information I could share with her regarding that possibility. It may turn out that there's nothing there, and it's all in your head or whatever, or there's another explanation for it. But, for those of us who experience these things sometimes, I think we probably feel it's real. And, a tarot is a great way to figure that out. So off camera, as always, whenever I do a reading, even for a demonstration, I meditate. And in this case, my request was I identified the nature of the reading, but also, the real answers, the real hope that I'm, the real meditative part is in, helping me see the answer for the best possible lesson on this topic. So it, I've just been shuffling now randomly after all that, just so you know that it's, a legit reading and not, I haven't pre-staged the cards or anything like that. Okay, so I lay 3 cards. Oh, I apologize. I also worked into the reading that the top row, my three rows of 3, asks, like, why are they there? Why are they there? And anything can come up, and, for us to understand that. The second one is, who are they? Tell us about who it is that might be there. And assuming that this entity is aware of your presence, right? How can we help them resolve their issues, Okay, so we saw the first card for the top row. Ace of Swords. Justice. Wow. Wow. So, I don't know if this, this top row answers why they are there. Excuse me. Why they're there. I get a sense that maybe it was a crime of passion, maybe it happened in that location. We have the Sword card, which can mean, the beginning or a great opportunity in some way, but we also have Justice, which is, illegal or, definitely legal, and but it can also mean that the individual is looking for justice, And then we have the Knight of Cups, who is, of all the knights, the one that probably wears his heart on his sleeve, He could also represent a woman, So it could be like, it's not necessarily a woman and a man crime of justice. It could have been that the man was the victim and the woman, could have been the Knight of Cups too. So just bear all that in mind. But I right off the bat, I get the sense that, possibly it was some type of crime of passion, right? Well, the next row is who are they, and tell us about who this individual is. Okay, this is a card of sobriety, you know, as a clue. You know, the Temperance was a card of sobriety. That was the virtue. And this particular card, you know, with the Temperance is identified as a virtue with her wings, right? So I'm, you know, seeing possibility of that, a sober thing. The Queen of Coin, of all the queens, is probably the most sober and most practical and reliable queen. So I'm guessing in this opportunity, in this row, we're getting the idea that this is a woman. Up here, it could have been, you know, either way. But here I'm getting a sense now that it's a woman. And here we have the 9 of baton, right? So we have, and I'm seeing this not necessarily as combining 9 and batons, but as a barrier, right? This is like the first abrupt card we have. We have, you know, we have storytelling, you know, up until this point, and now we have a block, right? So maybe is somebody who is, you know, just a little bit more about the nature of who they are and what they're doing there. They are a sober person, a serious person, but for whatever reason, there's a blockage or was a blockage, or there's a great frustration, which might be why they're there, because they can't get past their frustration. If that's it. The last row is assuming that this entity is aware of the woman's presence, of the client's presence. How can the client help them resolve their issues so that they do, you know, find peace or whatever it is that they're looking for? Another card of could be, you know, law, right? We begin with this, the Ace of Swords, then we have Justice, right? And now we have a Queen, who could mean a lot of different things, but because I'm zoned into the question and I'm looking for answers, my gut with this scenario and with the cards, you know, is that there's some type of legal thing. Maybe they want something legally resolved. Or maybe there's a child involved. Maybe they need to get a message to a child, which would take this out of the realm of legal issues and back in communication. Now, you'll notice that this particular Queen is against the child. So there's a dynamic between them that maybe they weren't on speaking terms, you know? So maybe something needs to be communicated or done legally on behalf of, you know, a child that's left behind. And, you know, the unfortunate thing is that maybe this happened 100 years ago and the child is no longer there, but maybe there's still something, you know, if I'm understanding it properly, that could be done to resolve someone's name or something like that. And then what's this last card? Okay, so the 6 of Cups is love, you know. It's like, you know, it's a very loving and emotionally satisfying card. You know, number 6 is a perfect number, you know. And being of the suit of cups, emotional satisfaction and joy and abundance. So it's possible that out of love, there's a need to clear something up, or you know, a message to give, you know, a descendant of theirs, you know. Now, you see, like when I'm doing a real reading, I lay the card, you know, this is the thought process I go through, you know, so that by the time after I've laid the cards, I know what's going on, you know. I don't necessarily do that with, you know, the client. Sometimes I do, but I don't necessarily do it this way. But I do make mental notes as I lay the cards in their positions, and I, you know, and then I put it all together and I come up with a story, right? Now, as always, I do add up because it's just something that I taught myself to do. I know I didn't teach myself about I didn't like make it up, quintessential cards. I mean, that's been done forever since the occultists, and it is something that the occultists did, I think, you know, and I kind of appealed to me, so I do it too, even though you know, it's something from their park, you know. But at any rate, let me go off camera and do those cards as well. So we have a 1, and then the 8 of Justice, which is 9, and then I don't count the Courts. So I'd be putting the Hermit here and do the same thing for each row, and then a final one for the entire thing. So give me a minute and I'll get them all out. Okay, so I've laid the last cards. For the top row, I get the Hermit. The second row, we get the Pope, and then the final row, we get the Lover card. Now, when I do a message for all of the cards, right, and I get that numerological assessment, I got the 20th card, or Judgment, or the Angel. Now, I'm going to go to this right away because, the whole point of this is to cut to the chase and to have clarity of meaning, right? There's an overall need or energy for getting the truth out there, or, making it be known, the facts of the case, maybe even being held accountable, because in here, we also, remember, had a Judgment card, the Judgment card up here. We had another Sword, and we had another Queen of Swords, who initially could have been seen as like a need for something legally to happen. But then as it is followed by the child, then I thought, well, maybe there might be a message that was not successfully told to the child before the mother's passing, if that's the case. And, maybe there's a need. Obviously, there's love here, and there's a lot of love. So that's like, a desire to communicate something to an ascendant or clear a name, perhaps. And then we have love here. Now, love, we often think of this card as a romantic kind of love. And that's possible. It's possible, that this person, maybe wants to communicate to some degree that they were conceived in love, or, that could be part of it, or that they love the father, but it could just very well be, and this is what I think, is that it's, expressing, a bond, a serious bond between individuals. The Lover's card is the one card that could describe that, as well as, romantic love. It can, also describe a bond, especially since I'm getting a child-mother vibe here, and a great amount of love, right? So, I'm seeing it like that. As far as the second row, who are they? And tell us about them. I was vibing on the idea that the person is a woman, right? Especially when I got to this second row. And, it's possible that this might be representing, either her personality or her profession, So this is a card of counsel. This would be a person that you would trust, a confidant. So maybe this woman had information, that they shouldn't have had. Maybe they were a confidant, and they were a witness to something, or they were made aware of something that maybe didn't, that wasn't helpful to their health. Yeah, I'm not laughing, but I'm just saying. And then the top card, why are they there? Maybe there's, with the Hermit being the card, the Hermit, now we can recognize him and understand him a few ways. A person of wisdom and education and erudite, and looks back on a life, lived, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and, the advantage of experience. If you're a kind of person who learns from your mistakes, I mean, some people don't, but if you're that kind of person, this card could represent that. Now, as far as why are they here, maybe they were looking back on their life, and like there might be some unresolved issue that they want communicated, and that's why they're here, And this is the Hermit looking back towards perhaps this experience, and age and wisdom is maybe having them see it in a new way. Maybe they didn't see it this way before they passed, whatever way, And so that's how I would understand these cards. A need or a desire to communicate something to a loved one who was probably younger. Didn't have to necessarily be a child-mother dynamic, but someone close, and an enormous amount of love, you know, and love all around. Maybe there were other people too, you know, and, you know, there's a sense of, you know, the question being, you know, how can we help them resolve their issues, is to communicate this to whoever it has to get communicated to, or resolve something on behalf of this individual, you know, because of, you know, an overwhelming love that this person residually has for this other, you know. This one was, who are they? Tell us about who it is. I think I've already done that. And this card, as I said, could be representing either, they could have been a counselor, you know. It could also be describing the nature of their work or the position they were in, maybe being, you know, because it's a block right before this, right? We have, you know, a sober, serious woman, or, you know, a woman who, you know, is a virtuous kind of person, right? And this is probably, you know, along the same lines, the Queen of Coin, you know, she's as sober as a queen gets. And then we have a blockage, you know, and then we have the High Priest, that, as this card is identified, the Pope, looking beyond and past the Queen, right? It's also interesting because we have the Hermit and the, you know, Pope or High Priest, one above the other. And, you know, they're both people that would give good counsel. Sometimes the Hermit can be seen as a counselor, right? So maybe the nature of, you know, their reason for being there, it had to do with counsel. Or, you know, I described it already, you know, like maybe being a confidant. That was an unfortunate thing to be, you know. Or it could have represented her experience in life, you know, her profession. And I think I've answered the question. So that's that. So I hope you've enjoyed this reading. You know, certainly if the person, you know, was a real client and they were either here with me, or, you know, we were, you know, exchanging, you know, messages back and forth, you know, more could be said. But, you know, without any input from the client, other than, you know, who am I sharing the space with, you know? And I do believe that, you know, the answer is that it's not, you know, in her head, you know, because we wouldn't have a clear story. We'd get we get something that we wouldn't be able to make sense of. And here we get a clear story, you know, so it's coming through that there is a story, that, you know, there is. Anyway, I'm probably repeating myself. Oh, the one thing I didn't do, and I should do because I like to do, the deck that I'm using for this demonstration is the Spanish Tarot by Fournier. It's one of my workhorse decks. I had it years ago, and then, you know, I had to replace it. And I think this one, I'm not sure the date that it was replaced, that when they replaced it, the colors are a little different, you know, and I should never have gotten rid of the original deck, but it was in those days when I was stupid, you know. But at any rate, I like it still. I mean, I like using this deck. I use it a lot. It's a workhorse deck. It's gotten years and years of riffle shuffling, and there's, you know, and regular shuffling. You know, for me, this is regular. You know, this is how I usually will mix the cards, even if they're riffle shuffle worthy. But, you know, sometimes you just got to clear the deck and you got to do what you got to do. And so I like, you know, my workhorse decks are all decks that I can do that with when I have to. At any rate, I hope this has been insightful and helpful. And until next time, peace and stay well.